Welcome to the Audio Inc. Radio podcast, featuring interviews with the biggest names in rock and metal. Hosted by Anne Erickson.
Get inked. Visit Facebook.com/Audio Inc. Radio, Twitter.com/Audio Inc. Radio, and AudioIncRadio.com for more ink.
What is up? It's Anne Erickson. As always, it's great to have you here on the podcast. And don't forget to hook up with me online, Twitter and Snapchat at Anne Erickson, Instagram and TikTok at Erickson Ann. I just got on TikTok, so bear with me. I have one video up, but you can check that out. You can find me on Facebook at itsmeann.com. And if you are rocking the podcast for the very first time, first of all, thank you. You rock. Also, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and give a 5-star review. That always really helps. Also, if you haven't yet, one last plug before I get into the main part of the podcast. Check out my band Upon Wings. We're kind of an operatic hard rock metal band. So check it out, uponwings.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And hopefully you dig us. I have a really awesome guest on the show, the one and only Tom Keifer. He's got a new record out called Ryze, which totally rocks from front to back. Of course, you know and love Tom Keifer from Cinderella, but let me tell you, his solo stuff is killer. Get ready because it all starts now.
Hey, this is Tom Keifer, and you're rocking with Anne Erickson on Audio Inc. Radio.
Hey, Tom, thanks for doing this.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Congrats on your latest record, Ryze. I love this record. Just love that really raw vibe on here. What was your initial vision for Ryze, and how did that evolve as you worked on the record?
I think that we wanted to capture the live essence and energy that my band has, the solo band that we've been, developing and growing on the road, that chemistry that we've had. It's the first record that I've made with this band. The first solo record was made with session players, and then this band came together to tour behind that. And we've toured for years, kind of, growing as a band together. And when we got off tour in the fall of 2018, trying to rack my brain here, it just felt like it was time to make a new record. It really seemed like setting up in a room together and really going for live performances, because we toured so much, was the way to go. And we really wanted to get a raw, angsty, high energy record. So we went for live performances, all together in the room performing together. Most of the tracks are, so much of it was, right from the actual tracking dates. There wasn't as much overdubbing as I'm used to doing. Even some of my vocals are live from the tracking dates. So we tried to not polish it too much, intentionally. We kept it raw, and that was the vibe we were going for.
I love that. You just don't get that too much these days. Bands just want to sound perfect and, have everything kind of fake. So I love that you guys have that really live sound on the record.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk, because, if you hear something that sounds technically wrong, you have to make the decision, is it cool technically wrong, or is it something we need to fix? So when you're taking that approach of trying to, and I believe, I don't like rock and roll to be slick, and I came from a decade where the productions were very, very slick, and I've been really kind of moving away from that, starting really with Long Cold Winter, and Heartbreak Station certainly really got more stripped down and raw and dry. And so this, when you get into that world where you're trying to maintain that rawness and realness, it's a balance between what you want to fix and what you want to keep. What's a cool screw up and what's not a cool one.
The Death of Me is my favorite track in the album. Tell me about the inspiration behind that track and how it kind of came together.
Actually, that lyric was written almost 100% by Savannah, my wife, who was my partner in crime in all of this. She handed me that lyric a few years back, and I remember reading it thinking, man, I can really relate to this, but more importantly, I think a lot of people can relate to this, because it's about overcoming your struggles and challenges in life. And so I actually tucked that in a folder and sat on it for a couple of years. I remember telling her, I said, when we make a record, this one's coming out. It's one of the first lyrics I pulled out and grabbed a guitar when we were getting ready to record Ryze, and she and I finished it up. And it's one of my favorites too.
Awesome. So what is it like working with your wife? I think it's so cool that both of you are so involved in your music.
It's really amazing to be able to create music together, and we approach songwriting and recording very much in the same way, and I think that's what makes it work. And to put it simply, we don't ever force it. So, like I said, a good example is The Death of Me. She was inspired one day and wrote a lyric and gave it to me. And it wasn't like we have to write the song right now. I just sat there, I love this, and I put it in a folder for 2 years, and we came back to it when I was ready, when I felt like I wanted to work on it. And that works both ways, So I always find the best art is created when you don't force it. You just kind of take the real inspirations, and if you're not ready to finish the painting at that time, you just kind of wait till you are. And a lot of the songs on this record happen that way, and some of them happen just on the spot instantly, and some are things that you have a thought or an idea, and you tuck it away and pull it out later. And I've always written that way, and that's how Savannah works too, and that makes it really easy, because I just can't force writing or creating. A lot of people are like, I'm waking up at 9 a.m. and writing a song at 10:30, and it doesn't work that way for me. So that makes it really easy for us working together creatively. And then, with her being part of the band and, getting to tour together and be together all the time doing that, it's just beyond anything I could have imagined, to be able to be on the road and performing with her and the whole band, is just bunch of great human beings. So really a lot of fun we're having.
That's so great. And you have been touring a lot to support Ryze, and I see you have shows booked through August when you count the European ones. What do you love about performing live with this band?
This band is just kind of, they've inspired me so much that when the band came together, I think we were all of us were at a crossroads in our lives and kind of looking for something kind of new or a shot in the arm, and we came together and we found each other, and I had no idea it was even going to last this long. I'm thinking that any day these people are going to walk and go do something else. And they've, we've all stuck together and kind of slugged it out through like kind of half-empty little clubs in the beginning, because, I was rebuilding myself as a solo artist. And, they've just inspired me, and they're incredible musicians, and they all have a real competitive attitude. They want to really bring their best to the stage every night, and that inspires me. And it's really just a great family on and off stage.
The music industry has changed so much since you first started out in the 80s, but at the same time, some things are kind of the same. So what do you think is the same and different from how you first started out?
Well, so much of it is still the same. I mean, from my perspective anyway, touring's the same. You get on the bus with your band and you go play shows, and you're live in that moment with the fans, and that really doesn't feel any different. Creating the music and the art, everything from the records to the videos and all, it's kind of still creating the same kind of art forms. I love making records when you hit that season where you're ready to do it, and videos are still something I really enjoy making. So all that's the same, in terms of the creative process and the touring, going out and touring. It's doesn't feel any different. What's different, I think, is everybody consumes music differently now, and there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. You've got streaming, you've got some people just listen to all their music on YouTube. Some people buy physical, CDs and a lot of vinyl. We still sell a lot of vinyl, and it's just kind of much more diversified in that sense. And I think that's the biggest difference. I think for you can't really judge your success, let's just say, on hard sales anymore, because people are getting the music in different ways. Some of them are ways that are free, and you have to kind of adjust to that mentality, maybe, where you're not, there's not money generated maybe from the music so much, or actual sales, but it doesn't mean that people aren't familiar with the music. So I guess to kind of sum it up, I remember with The Way Life Goes, the first solo record, we would kind of look at the actual hard sales of the record and say, well, that's maybe not what I'm used to. But then you go out and play live, and we toured the world on that record, and everyone's singing all the songs from that record. So the amount of people who seem to be familiar with the music put up, compared to what is maybe reported as sold, is very different. And so I think, now you kind of measure your successes to how many people are familiar with the music, per se, if that makes sense. Because it's just a different way that people get their music and listen to music. That's something you have to adjust to, because I think the internet had a lot to do with it, and I'm not weighing in as to whether it's a good or a bad thing. It's just something you just have to adjust to.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, at first there was a lot of pushback on the streaming, and now it seems like everyone's kind of, embraced it. So I feel like it just keeps changing as time goes on.
Yeah, the music business has always evolved. I mean, if you think, when if you go way back, people would listen to music on Victrolas, on lacquered records. It's always evolved. So you just have to mentally adjust to it, and not, if you're expecting the same result as, say, 20 years ago in terms of how your success is measured or whatever, it's, that's going to be disappointing, I think. And probably true if you really look back over all the decades. You have to roll with the changes, and and quoting REO Speedwagon there. I think now, the music more than anything just kind of feels like it's, I don't know how to describe it. I think just as many people are enjoying the new music and hearing it, and certainly that kind of shows up at the shows, because you get to see there is where you get to see how many people know your new music.
Do you have a favorite track to play live, not just off Ryze, but from your full catalog?
It's hard to pick because there's so many different kinds of styles. I mean, I've always loved singing ballads, so songs like Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone and Nobody's Fool, I've always, loved performing those live. And we've been doing the title track, Ryze, live, which is a piano kind of gospel ballad thing, and I kind of enjoying that one. And then, on the rock side, I would say, for some reason, I've just always loved singing Shelter Me Live. That's a fun one. It's one of my favorite songs, I think.
So I'm curious about your thoughts on the big Motley Crue, Def Leppard tour coming up, because it's kind of one of the more talked about tours out of the whole 80s world. So were you surprised by that? I personally was, which maybe I shouldn't have believed Motley Crue when they said they were playing like their last tour, but of all the reunion tours, I was actually, surprised that they did come back.
Yeah, I guess that was the biggest surprise about it. But I guess when you think about it, not really, because that's very common. I think people want to say, enough's enough. I've had enough of this. I mean, it can really be a grind touring constantly. So but then I think you get off the road for a while and you get the itch again. So I would imagine when they made that decision that they meant it, and then maybe they got off the road and got the itch, so then that, so in one sense that was a surprise, but not really.
Do you think you'll go to any of the shows?
I think we're on the road when they're here in town, if I remember correctly. We are, so I don't know. We have a lot of dates that are being booked right now. We're going to be announcing our tour stuff very soon here, so we're going to have a pretty busy year. So we'll see if our paths cross out there on a day off, maybe.
Looking ahead into the rest of this year, what are you most excited about?
Probably getting back on the road. We're actually going next week. We've got 4 shows booked. We're going to be out on the road next week, and we're pretty much off until we're going to fire up and start doing the end of May is when our tour is going to start. And like I said, we're going to be announcing those dates very soon. And we're touring pretty much from the end of May into the fall. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
So if you could collaborate with anyone in the world for a song on your next album, who would it be?
I mean, I'd have to pick my favorite band and artists of all time, and that would be the Rolling Stones. I mean, that's kind of like a no-brainer for me. They're the kings of it all in my mind.
That would be awesome. I think that would actually be a really good fit.
And it'd be fun. I think it'd be a good fit. I don't know how they feel about it, but
I think it'd be a great fit. Well, thank you again, Tom, for hanging. It's been a lot of fun. Is there anything else you'd want to add?
No, I think that's about it. We have a new single, Hype, is out, and we have a video for that, and everyone can go check that out on YouTube, and that's probably the latest news right now.
Awesome. Tom Keifer, his new record, Ryze, is out now. Thank you, Tom. We will rock with you on the road.
Awesome. We'll see you out there, and thank you very much.
It's the cutting edge of new music and the forefront of rock. It's Audio Inc. with Anne.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Audio Inc. Radio Podcast. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. Get inked online at audioinkradio.com. I'm Anne Erickson for the Audio Inc. Radio Podcast.